right. It looks like my microphone is working okay. How y'all doing tonight, folks? Wait a second. Look like I'm still having a problem. Okay. I think it's working fine. Like I started to say, hello to all the good folks tonight. This is Who Did You Boycott Today? I normally don't start a broadcast this late at night, but seeing as how I was up working on my business stuff, I decided to go ahead on and try to get this broadcast done. Because I tell you, human beings are something else. I don't know what else more to say. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get my words out tonight. I am going to do my best to get my words out tonight. Human beings are something else. May I repeat it again? Human beings are something else. These Pan-Africans, they deserve an Oscar. Somebody needs to call up whoever is over the Oscar department and let them know that there's a group of folks over on Twitter land that deserve to go home with an Oscar. Somebody needs to contact those folks and let them know. Because as of yesterday, I changed my title to address the Pan-Africans. I made a special title for the Pan-Africans who want to cry and be selfish. So I decided, I sat down and I thought about it and I thought about it and I thought about it and I said, who did you boycott? You're going to come up with a title to be as direct and frank as humanly possible. In less than 48 hours, they have already started changing their tune. In less than 48 hours, these fake Pan-Africans in cultivating room, I guess that sorry human being has designated herself as the unifier. She wants to move around to all these different rooms and call herself unified. Well, you folks are too late. You know what that word called too late? You are too late. Pan-Africans, you are too late. I have only been a part of this madness for a little over just 3 years. Just 3 years. So I was 59 years old when I downloaded Clubhouse app. Clubhouse app. I was 59 years old, and for the first time in my life, I got an earful of all these immigrants from Jamaica, Haiti, the Bahamas, the continent, Europe, Canada, wherever they come from. I really got an earful of how they feel about, Negroes / Black American descendants of slaves. See, human beings, it's our nature to show our true character and how we feel. That's just human nature. We'll do our best not to show our whole self until we get comfortable with each other. But as we get comfortable with each other, we gradually start to show our true character. Once you feel like you can trust that person and you have built respect for each other, then you start gradually showing your true self. Well, I got a bombshell on Clubhouse to hear all the different immigrants really express how they feel. So tonight and most of today, I've been gathering my intel from cultivating space on Twitterland. I went in anonymous and I listened with my 2 ears for a good long time. I got a chance to hear both sides. I got a chance to hear both sides get off their chest what they wanted to get off their chest. Both sides, the Pan-Africans, the Africans, the Jamaicans, the Haitians, the Europe, Canada, wherever they came from. And then I got a chance to listen to Black Americans. No one said Negro. That all those hours that I sat there in anonymous section listening, not one person said Negro, except for that person name in my title, and he only mentioned Negro after he seen his name in my title. Otherwise, it would have never came out of his mouth. Because I've been listening to him for about a couple of months now, maybe about 2 or 3 months, and he never said Negro. He tried to get it out of his mouth tonight and try to come up with the common narrative that Negro means black in Portuguese. Negro means black in Spanish or whatever they come up with the narrative. None of that matters. None of that matters because my ancestors did not live one day in Portuguese. My ancestors did not live one day of their life in Portuguese. My ancestors never lived one day of their life in Spanish, in Spain or wherever that place is. So that has nothing to do with my ancestors. You need to go find those ancestors in Portuguese that you may be talking about. You need to go find those ancestors in Portuguese who, when they say Negro, they mean black. I don't know what. I don't have anything to do with that. My ancestors don't have anything to do with that. My mother, my grandfather, my grandmother, my great-grandfather, my great-grandmother, they have nothing to do with what happened in Portuguese. So I don't know how these persons who consider themselves intelligent, why do they get on a public app and spew that narrative out their mouth? What does that have to do with 246 years of Negro slavery in America? Did I miss something? Did I miss something? I must have missed something because that's the narrative that I've been hearing for well over a year. What does that have to do with 246 years of Negro slavery on this landmass? Did they move the landmass? Did somebody switch the landmass? The landmass in Portuguese got switched to America, and America's landmass got switched to Portuguese because folks seem to be confused. So like I started to say, I sat in that anonymous section listening to all the different comments for a couple of hours. I was working on my website, and I got a lot of work done. I was really pleased with how much work that I got done on my website that I'm monetized. Because I'm putting on my thinking cap every day I get up to be productive. Because I clearly have evaluated that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are evil, and the Republicans and the MAGAs and the white nationals and the KGC and the oligarchy and the Black Rocks and the Rockefellers and the cartels and the 13 colonies that defected from the Union. Who have I left out? KKK, the Proud Boys, and of course, I cannot leave out Pan-African. I cannot leave out Pan-African. Not one of those persons, like I started to say, out of all those persons that spoke on that stage in Cultivating Room, her little Cultivating Room Twitter space, that sorry human being had the audacity to disrespect me. And I'll never forget that. See how that works? I'll never forget that she let the devil tell her to disrespect me. Now, all of a sudden, she running around hosting all these rooms and being all nice and chummy. She's the milk and honey is spewing out her mouth. But that's not going to change the fact that she disrespected me. I don't care how nice she be to everybody else. I don't care how nice she be to everyone else. I'm not going to forget that she disrespected me. And I did nothing, not one iota thing, to disrespect her. But she took the liberty to disrespect me. All because I think, she don't did her little space with Tommy Sotomayor. She don't did her little space with all these different folks on Twitter land that she rubbed elbows with, and she think that's gonna. I don't know what is the purpose of it. But my mother always told me. Be very observant of who flock together. Birds of a feather will flock together. Birds of a feather will flock together. And that's what I noticed from Twitter land. How certain persons flock together in these different rooms that they open. Kenya, this man by the name of Kenya, she did a space with him. She don't did a space with Talon. I saw Enoch tonight. She don't did a space with Tommy Sotomayor. She don't did a space. She does spaces with Patriot, Re-Up, and many others. She's making her round. The Negro Black Knight, she did a space with him. I noticed all the persons that I have put their name in my title, how they have conjugated together in conversations about me. They must be really dedicated to having pleasant conversations about me, putting their name in my title. Because I'm noticing how they all seem to be in rooms together lately. I have told you, human beings, I'm very observant. God didn't give me book knowledge. God gave me common sense and made me very observant. And I have noticed in the past couple of weeks since she disrespected me, how all the different persons that name ended up in my title, those persons are in the same rooms together all of a sudden. They were never in a room together in all the year and a half that I've been on Twitter. But all of a sudden, they in a room together. They were never in a room together until their name ended up in my title. You think that's a coincidence? Do you think that's a coincidence? I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence because I'm very observant. I never seen them host and co-host together before their name ended up in my title. Now, all of a sudden, they host and co-host together. Just like that. Just like that. Yeah, human beings are something else. They don't realize how much they tell on themselves. I don't know what's hard to understand about that. We each live with ourselves. We know ourselves better than anyone else. Each one of us know our individual self better than anyone else, maybe other than our mother and father. They know us in and out. But after the mother and father, there's no one else walking around on two legs that know you better than you know yourself. So when I sit back on my computer and work on my websites and have my phone off to the side and I click on anonymous and I just sit there and listen. and gather my intel. I gather my intel, and I keep on doing my work. And I've been gathering quite a bit of intel for the past week. I think it's been maybe a week, a little over a week since she disrespected me. And that's why her name is in my title. And when you choose to associate with persons who have character flaws, then you are going to be judged that you must have something in common with that person, like Tommy Sotomayor. Tommy Sotomayor is I don't even want to find the words, but what I did discover about Tommy Sotomayor, that he revealed quite a little bit about his father. I think he even mentioned something about his mother that gave me a little bit more insight as to why he get on a public app and want to call women B-I-C-T-H every chance he get. And then women sit in the spaces and they don't come off the microphone, and this subpar human being sit there on that stage, Tommy Sotomayor, he sit on that stage and call women B-I-C-T-H, and the women don't come off the microphone. I don't understand that. How can you sit in the presence of someone disrespecting you? I know as human beings we can have disagreements. We can despise each other's guts. We can have disagreements and we can despise each other's guts. And we can dislike everything about each other. But I'm not going to sit in the presence of another human being and allow them to disrespect me. I'm a woman. I was born a woman. And I'm going to die a woman. And I'm not going to sit on no public app and disrespect a man. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you how I feel. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do my absolute best to try to do it in the most respectful way that I can. But I'm not going to get on a public app and call and curse you upwards and sideways just because I may not like you, just because we may have a disagreement, just because we have opposing perspectives, just because we may not like each other's character. I'm not going to do that because I have a character standard that I hold myself to. I have a character standard that I have set for myself long before I ever heard your voice. Long before I ever heard many of your voices, I had already set a character standard for myself. So why would I permit you, for myself to get angry enough at you to lower my standard just because I may be upset or angry or we had a disagreement? Why should I penalize myself by lowering my standard? If I love myself, and I do love myself like no tomorrow, yes I do. Who did you boycott? She loved herself like no tomorrow. So no human being walking around on two legs is ever going to force me to lower my standards. I've been doing a fairly good job at that. And seeing as how I'm 62 years old, I think I'm going to end up going to my grave with a perfect record. I think I can pretty much say that I'm pretty much home free with that. I'm 62 years old, so if I was going to change, if my character was going to change, I think it would have changed by now. It just has not changed. It's been the same as I grew up. So I took a recording. I made a recording of Tommy Sotomayor. I haven't had a chance to go back and listen to the replay, but I find it time to go back and listen to the replay. Because, see, human beings that come to America, they feel they have the liberty to talk down on Negroes / Black American descendants of slaves. And like I almost forgot, as I sat in that anonymous section listening today, not one human being acknowledged Negro. Why is that? It's total disrespect. And folks don't seem to care about it. Folks don't seem to care about that Negroes were slaves in America for 246 years, but you can sit on a public app and claim that you want unity when you don't even know the history, or you disregard it and acknowledge the sacrifice that Negroes made for 246 years so their descendants would not have to start at ground zero and would have a fighting chance for a better life. Well, many of you immigrants don't hesitate to let it be known that you have had an opportunity for a better life. You have left your country and you have come to another country for a chance at a better life. Well, Negroes' ancestors, that's what they sacrificed. Many of them had to sacrifice it with their life. Many of them lived and survived Negro slavery. And they wanted their descendants not to have to start at ground zero. And so for me to sit on an app, for me to be listening to my phone and sitting in the anonymous section and not hear one human being acknowledge Negro was the ethnicity of the ancestors and their descendants. Because I have Negro on my birth certificate. I am a living, breathing human being. I am a living, breathing human being just the way any other human being that walk around on two legs. So why do folks take the liberty to not to acknowledge that Negro was the ethnicity of the ancestors for 246 years? And all the way up to 1967, Negro was the ethnicity put on birth certificates, marriage license, and death certificates. So why do I have to sit on a public app and hear all these adults say out of their mouth, African American, Black American, FBA? All of those terms came after Negro. Each one of those terms, Black American, African American, FBA, came after the term Negro. But folks don't give a darn that they being disrespectful. But then in the same breath, they want to claim unity. They want unity. They want unity when you can't even acknowledge the sacrifice that my mother made, that my grandfather made, my grandmother made, that my great-grandfather made, that my great-grandmother made. You can't even do that. Bare minimum. You can't even show respect for the sacrifice that they made. And I'm supposed to believe that you want to unify, and I am supposed to blindly trust you. You must be on Fantasy Island. You must be on Fantasy Island, and whatever bus that you got off, you need to get back on that bus and let them take you back to Fantasy Island, because that's not gonna happen with me. I can't speak for anybody else, but it won't be happening for me. No, excuse me, unless I live long enough to witness each of you human beings, each of you sorry human beings that always talking about Pan-African and I'm Nigerian, I'm Ethiopian, I'm Somalian, I'm Jamaican, I'm Haitian, I'm Bahamas. You got all your ethnicities. And I don't have any hesitation to show respect to other person's ethnicity. I don't seem to witness that in return, because I have been on social media apps for 3 years now, and I rarely hear any person come off the microphone and acknowledge Negro. I don't hear that. Why is that? Why do I not hear each of you human beings acknowledging Negro? Because you don't respect the sacrifice that Negroes made for 246 years. It's simple that fact. Because you don't respect it. So it never come out of your mouth. It never come out of your mouth because you do not respect it. So I decided that I needed to send each one of you a clear message. That's why I put the title that I put in my room for my broadcast. I made a special title for the Pan-Africans. I had to do that. I had to do that because, like I said, I believe in speaking my mind. When I feel something on the inside, I'm going to speak it out loud. I'm not going to fake the funk with you. I'm not going to pretend with you. That's not my character. And it's really quite selfish and low down of what I have witnessed in the past 2 years. It's downright selfish and low down and a lot of jealousy. So I decided to change my title yesterday. Well, that would have been the day before. Today is the 6th, if I'm not mistaken. It's past midnight where I'm at on the East Coast. So that means that I changed my title on the 4th of February. In less than 48 hours, you fake Pan-Africans change your tune. I saw it. I witnessed it right in cultivating room. I didn't even have to have my title up more than a couple of hours before y'all changed y'all tune. You folks must really be scanning that Twitterland hallway, because you didn't waste any time changing your tune. Why is that? Because you saw my title and I sent you a direct message. That's what happened. Because it had not changed before I put those titles in my room, in my broadcast, because I've been listening for 2 years. And I had never seen in real time how quickly you folks can change your tune and be all nice, be so nice. We just all need to come together. We all black. We all just need to come together. We got the same enemy. We just all need to come together. Don't you know we have the same enemy? Don't you know that we all black? No human being is black. You folks really think folks are going to be played for a fool, don't you? Well, some people are going to. Some persons are going to allow you to play them. But you have had 50 years. You have had 50 years, more than 50 years, to demonstrate unity. You have had over 50 years to demonstrate unity. So what has stopped you? Because America is not predicting that any of your ethnicities are going to be at zero wealth by 2040 or 2053. I have not heard about that. So where is all that unity for the past over 50 years? Because if it was so much unity, America could not be predicting that Negroes and Black Americans will be at zero wealth by 2040 or 2050. See, you never know what's going to expose your lie. You never know what you're going to get caught in that trap. Because now you run around on stage and claim that you want unity and that we all black and we all got the same enemy, and then you got in the same breath you're on a public app saying, well, we came to America and we have pulled ourselves up by our bootstrap. Why can't you do it? Well, the reason why Negroes and Black Americans have been blocked. America has put so many things in place to make sure only a handful of Negroes and Black Americans get through that gate. They're not threatened by other immigrants. That doesn't even faze them. Donald Trump showed you what is a threat to America by what he did in the first 8 days. He went for Tuskegee Airmen. Why would a president be concerned about the history and that Tuskegee Airmen being taught as a lesson for airmen? Why would that be a threat to Donald Trump and America? Because when you take power, that's your job to identify what you feel is the greatest threat to you, and that is what you're going to address as quickly as possible. So that's what Donald Trump did. That's why Donald Trump, in the first 8 days that he took office, he started making sure that he targeted the Negroes / Black Americans. Excuse me. But before Donald Trump took office, he made an announcement that Donald Trump don't want anyone growing up to hate America. Donald Trump wants the whole world to know that he do not want anyone growing up to hate America. So Donald Trump don't want Negro slavery taught in public schools or colleges. See, Donald Trump tells you out of his own mouth what he feels threaten America. Well, Negro slavery history threatens America. They want to wash that blood off of their hands. They just are desperate to wash that blood off of their hands. And so Donald Trump is letting all of the racist, discriminating, evil, pale pink people know that he's on the job. He's going to make it very clear to them that he do not want anyone growing up to hate America. So Donald Trump and all these other evil human beings who want to get rid of Negro history, they tell on themselves. Human beings will tell on themselves. I don't know why folks think they can hide it, because by our human nature, we tell on ourselves, whether we want to or not. We do our best to control it. We do our best to hide it and conceal it. But eventually, we're going to tell on ourselves. Our true character will come to the surface. No matter how hard we try to conceal it. It's our nature. It's our human nature to show our true character. That's just something natural. So Donald Trump and all the white MAGAs, white nationals, KKK, all of these racist persons that want to make it clear that Negroes are a threat to them. Negro is a threat to America. Just like J. Edgar Hoover told America when he was asked the question, J. Edgar Hoover, what is the greatest threat to America? J. Edgar Hoover, do you mind answering this question? What is the greatest threat to America? J. Edgar Hoover said the greatest threat to America is Negro unity. Negro unity. 2 words, just 2 little words, just 2 little words. So, that hasn't changed. America and the whole world clearly knows that Negroes are God's chosen people. And all you other nations know that too. A lot of you know it. That's why, I think that's why many of you get on these public apps and never say Negro out your mouth. You never say Negro out your mouth because you know that Negroes are God's chosen people. That's why you are so desperate for Negroes / Black Americans to be African American. You want Negro to disappear. You don't want Negro to have an ethnicity. You individual persons don't want Negroes / Black Americans to have a birthright. You're jealous, you're selfish, you're fake. It's downright pitiful. I never would have thought that I would live to see a day that human beings could be that selfish. That any human being could be that low down and selfish. That they want our small population in America to be erased. They want Negroes / Black Americans to be black flatness. They don't. You feel that Negroes / Black Americans don't deserve a birthright? Don't you have a birthright? Don't a German person have a birthright? They're German. Don't a Jamaican have a birthright? They Jamaican. Don't an Ethiopian have a birthright? They're Ethiopian. So why do you sorry human beings who call yourself Pan-African, why do you think that we have to be flat blackness? Can anyone answer that question? Can anyone answer that simple question? Why do all of you Pan-Africans feel so desperate for the 50 million, our little small population of 50 million, or a little more, or a little less? Why are y'all so focused on our little 50 million? When each of your nations outnumber our 50 million 3 or 4 times over. 3 or 4 times over, you outnumber our little small 50 million. But you're so focused on that 50 million. Why is that? Why are you not focused on Jamaica? Why is Africa not focused on unifying with Jamaica? Why is Africa not focused on unifying with Haiti? Why is Africa, the continent of Africa, not focused on unifying with the Bahamas? Why is all of this attention on a small 50 million human beings? Why is that? Someone, will you kindly answer that question? Why is so much focus on 50 million human beings when the population in Jamaica is 3 or 4 times more than that? The population in Haiti is 3 or 4 times more than 50 million. The population on the continent of Africa is too many to count. It's way more than 3 or 4 times our 50 million. But all the focus is on Negroes / Black Americans. But folks got all the time in the world to put down Negroes / Black Americans. You got all the time in the world to wake up day after day, day after day, day after day, and you pop on these social media apps and talk down to Negroes / Black Americans. That's jealousy. That's selfish. That's low down. Selfish, jealousy. Oh, I just never thought I would live to see the day when other human beings would be that selfish, that they can be that low down and selfish that Negroes / Black Americans don't deserve a birthright. I guess you human beings feel that Negroes and Black Americans don't deserve an ethnicity. No, they just got to be black flatness. They don't deserve a birthright. They don't deserve an ethnicity. While each of you have a recognized ethnicity. Jamaicans have a recognized ethnicity. They have a recognized national origin. They have a recognized nation. You can't be satisfied with that. You have to be jealous of 50 million Negroes, Black Americans. Why is that? I'm just going to keep asking the question, why is that? Something is mentally wrong there. There's a mental disconnect. There's a character flaws. There's a serious, deep mental handicap and a very, very deep character flaws when you can have the audacity to claim that you want unity while in the same breath denying to respect that person's birthright. I don't see how you can be that selfish. I don't understand how you can be that jealous, that you feel that you have a right to deny another human being their birthright. They just got to be black. They just got to be black. They just got to be black. They just got to be Pan-African. They just got to be black. Just got to be Pan-African. But you get to be proud of your ethnicity. You get to be proud of your nation. So you human beings have run around on social media out at least for the past 3 years that I've been listening. And a person by the name of Samagio, that human being decided to build a website and label FBA, ADOS, and Freeman a hate group. A hate group. Now, if a Negro or a Black American got on an airplane and flew to Jamaica and got to Jamaica, unpacked their suitcase, and tried to label any persons or a percent of the population in Jamaica a hate group, that Negro or Black American probably wouldn't make it back alive. they just would not make it back alive. The same thing would happen if they went to Haiti or the continent. But you immigrants can come to America and totally disrespect our individual right to fight our country for our birthright. And so since you're so hurt by it, then you run around and paint a narrative that all Negroes and Black Americans hate somebody. Oh, you just spewing hate. You just spewing hate. You just spewing anti-Black. You just spewing hate. You just spewing anti-Black. Black ain't nothing but a color. The only reason why America started using the term Black was when slavery was about to come to an end. They saw the writing on the wall about 1840. About 1840, it's about when they reached up into the sky and poured down two words, white and black. And they stamped it into society. And gradually, human beings started saying it over and over. But God did not birth one human being into the world white. God did not birth one human being into the world black. So I don't understand why each of you adults don't want to admit the harm that you want that baby, that child that's going to be born into the world. You want to pass that harm down to them. Why? Why would you want to do that? A child that's born into the world deserves to have a birthright. A child that is born into the world deserves to be judged by their character and the God-given abilities that God blessed them with. That child don't deserve to be judged by their skin color. Do you think that's fair? Do you think that's fair? I would kind of like for you adults that run around 24/7 saying everybody is black. Do you think it's going to be fair when you may be dead, I may be dead, you may be dead, I may be dead, that child is going to have to walk out into the world and be judged by their skin color, all because you adults had an attachment to a word called black. I don't need the word black to connect with another melanated person. When I walk out my door and I lay my eyes on another person that have melanated skin like me, I don't have to see them as black. I just have to see that person as another human being like myself with melanated skin. I don't have to see that person as black because my enemy said they want to call myself or that other person black. I don't have to do that. No one has a gun to my head. Just because my enemy and society may decide they want to see me as black, I don't have to identify that way. I don't have to accept that because God did not bless me into the world a black person. So why would I allow another human being to tell me how I see myself? Why would I allow any human being walking around on two legs to tell me how to see myself? Because I clearly have a brain. And I clearly know that God did not birth me into this world a black person. So why? I'm going to keep asking the question, why would I see myself that way? Why? What reason on earth would I have to see myself as black? Because I clearly know how to read. I clearly know that my mother birthed me, and my birth certificate says Negro. My birth certificate says Negro. It does not spell black. It's nowhere on there. I have looked at that birth certificate more times than I can count. I have looked at my own birth certificate more times than I can count. And it does not have the word black on there anywhere. Not anywhere. So I am not going to be responsible. I refuse to be responsible for harming that unborn child that's going to come into the world someday. In the young generation, in the middle generation, in the old generation, and the elders, I am not going to be responsible for accepting the way my enemy may choose to want to see me. I don't have any control over that. I don't have 1 ounce of control over how someone else's little brain may tell their little brain how they want to see me. I know how I see myself. I know how God created me. I know God did not create me a black person. No, God birthed me into a Pacific bloodline, and it wasn't spelled black. That's simple biology. It's not complicated. It's really not complicated. I was born into a Pacific bloodline, and it wasn't spelled black. Why do human beings choose to inflict self-harm? I don't understand that. I know that each of us are suffering from being birthed into a very, very sick environment. It took me a long time to try to unpack that, to come to that realization and admit that. I didn't know that. I didn't understand that I was born into a sick environment when I was 10 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old. I didn't understand that I had been born into a sick environment. But the day came when I sat down and I had a heart-to-heart talk with myself. And I had to look back over my years and my lived experience and what I had experienced from the time my clearest memory is around 6 years old, 5 or 6 years old. I say 6 years old to be on the safe side. And I went back in my memory as far back as I could go. As far back as I could go, and I landed somewhere around 6 or 7 years old and worked my way up to my current age. And I had to face that hard truth that I was born into a sick environment. I had experienced racism, discrimination, and that word that y'all folks seem to love, hate. I don't use hate. Hate is a word that a human being inflict on another human being because of evil. Because of evil that's inside of that human being. In America, and many human beings that walked around on 2 legs in America, they have hate inside of them. I don't have hate inside of me. My mother did not use the word hate. She did not raise any of her children growing up hearing that word. It was an unspoken understanding that we were born into a sick environment. Let me correct myself, that we were born into a racist, discriminating environment, a very, very hostile environment. I didn't start hearing the word hate until I downloaded these social media apps, because the persons that I were around growing up, I never heard any of them saying the word hate out of their mouth. And I searched my memory as hard as I could do it, and I could not remember any time as I was growing up where anyone that was around me was using the word hate all the time, like you persons do on Twitter. Anytime someone disagreed with you, you stamp them with the label hate. Like Samaggio stamped and labeled FBA and ADOS and Freeman a hate group. All because, maybe it's from my understanding, because they dislike Tariq Nasheed. Maybe they dislike individuals who identify as Freeman. Maybe they dislike persons who identify as ADOS, but that doesn't reach the level of wanting to label a large percent of persons a hate group, all because feelings got hurt, because names were called. That's not being fair, because when you are operating in America and you stamp a organization or a group of people with the label hate, that comes with consequences. That comes with consequences that cannot be measured. When you take the liberty, because your feelings got hurt maybe, and that's unfortunate. No human being should have their feelings hurt. But the response should not be to try to paintbrush thousands and thousands of persons that you never met and label them a hate group. I cannot understand why any person with brown or dark brown skin would want to do that to another human being with brown or dark brown skin. Because now it can't be undone. It cannot be undone. So all of us with brown and dark brown skin have a target, an extra target. We already had a target because of our melanated skin. We can't undo that. We can't take our skin off. We can't take our skin off. So the environment that we were birthed into, the world that we were birthed into, made a decision a long time ago that any person with brown or dark brown skin was going to be mistreated. They were going to be mistreated. They were going to be looked down on. Being born with brown, melanated skin is a gift from God. That's my birthright. No one is going to make me feel bad about my skin color. My skin color is melanated, but it's not black. And I look in the mirror every day of my life. I look in the mirror and my skin is not black. My skin is melanated. It's copper, it's tan, but it's nowhere near black. So, each one of us that were birthed into the world by the blessings of the Heavenly Father, we were birthed into this world with brown and dark brown skin. The world that we were birthed into made a decision to create an environment that was discriminating, that was racist, that was hostile. So why would any person, why would somebody, Apaya is a sorry human being. And somebody needs to check that man. Someone needs to check him. He thinks he's getting away with saying nigger. Y'all have given him too much free rein to say nigger. At any time he start talking, that's the first word that come out of his mouth. And he sound like the enemy. He sound like the enemy every time he say it. Somebody needs to check him. Somebody needs to check Apaya, because he's full of himself. That man has a dedication to looking down on Negroes and Black Americans. I think he takes great pride in it. He really do. And now persons like him want to cry unity. What delusional world do you folks live in? I really would like to know. What delusional world do you live in? Because somebody told you, someone told your little brain that you could come to another person's country and talk down to them. And then, in the same breath, claim you want unity. I could never go to the continent or Jamaica and talk down on those persons and then say out of my mouth, I want to unify with you. I would have to be delusional. But you individuals think you can get away with it. Y'all really have convinced yourself of that. You really have convinced yourself that you want to come to another person's country and call them lazy and drug addicts and criminals and then you think they are going to take it and want to be friends with you and want to unify with you. Y'all, you have to really be delusional. I don't know what planet you've been living on, because I ain't never witnessed anything like that in my 62 years. I really have not. I mean, I would just like to know where you get the audacity. I could never go to another person's country and talk down to them. You couldn't pay me to do it. You couldn't pay me to do it. You could not pay me to go to another person's country and talk down to them. But America has given the green light for anyone to come to America and talk down to Negroes and Black Americans, freemen, ADOS, and LPA. So all of you folks been drinking the Kool-Aid. All of you folks been drinking the Kool-Aid, and now you want to try to be nice. Now that it's getting hot in the kitchen, and all Trump is in the kitchen cooking up the demise around the world and in America. Donald Trump is a very dangerous person. Everybody is on edge about Donald Trump and Elon Musk, including myself. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I'm not ashamed to admit it. But it's quite ironic how all you folks on Twitter land are running to the Negroes and Black Americans and want to suddenly unify. Where was that when MLK got locked up? When was that for the past 10 years? Where was that 20 years ago? Where was that unity that you crying about now 30 years ago? Where was it? MLK warned all of you persons. You can't say that MLK did not warn the whole world. It's famous. The famous quote, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Something like that. Injustice anywhere is just, no, I can't remember how, it's not coming to me right now. Let me try it again. Injustice anywhere, no, injustice anywhere is no justice anywhere, or something like that. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I can't get on my computer right now because it's kind of late and I'm kind of sleepy. But I'm going to say again, MLK warned the whole world. He warned the whole world and got locked up and wrote that famous quote. And it fell on deaf ears. If I remember correctly, I think he wrote that quote in 1963 because I was born in 1962. And I remember when I looked it up, it was about a year after I was born. So MLK warned all of you individuals that immigrated to America. And that wasn't a concern of you folks. All you cared about was coming to America for a better life. You didn't care about that mistreatment that the Negroes' ancestors were going through. You didn't care about that, and that's okay. Because, see, that's the thing about Negroes and Black Americans. We understand the environment that we were born into. We really wouldn't, most persons wouldn't expect you to stick your neck out when you're trying to come here and get on your feet and try to have a better life and help your family members back home. Most Negroes and Black Americans, they wouldn't be upset about that. That would be the natural thing for anyone to do. Because Negroes and Black Americans, we understand this sick environment that we grew up in. And we tried to tell immigrants that very thing. But no, you folks kept on swallowing the Kool-Aid that America gave you to drink. That Negroes were lazy. That Negroes were criminal. They were too busy killing each other. They were drug addicts. They didn't want to work. They were sorry and lazy. So you immigrants come to America and show those Negroes how to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They don't know how to do that. So you folks come over here, you come to America and say, why you can't do it? The reason why Negroes and Black Americans can't do it because America's not threatened by immigrants. America used immigration as a weapon. So if my enemy has been using a weapon of immigration since 1865, don't it make common sense that immigrants are going to get a leg up and America is going to use everything that they can use to keep one specific group at the bottom? America could not have done that without the help of every immigrant that came to America. America could not have been successful at accomplishing keeping the Negroes at the bottom for 150 years if they did not have help. By the law of average, it would change up. Don't we all agree? By law of average, it would naturally change up if something wasn't in place to purposely make sure that one specific group stay at the bottom. By law of average, it should naturally change up. Sometimes the Caucasians should be at the bottom. Sometimes the Germans should be at the bottom. Sometimes the Asians should be at the bottom. Sometimes the Latinos should be at the bottom. Sometimes the Mexicans should be at the bottom. Sometimes the Irish should be at the bottom. Sometimes the Jamaicans should be at the bottom. Sometimes the Ethiopians should be at the bottom. If something wasn't in place to purposely make sure that the Negroes and Black Americans stay at the bottom, it would change up. It would change up naturally by a law of average. By a law of average, it should change up. And over 150 years, I think we each have enough common sense to know that that should have happened. 150 years is long enough for it to change up naturally. That is, if America did not have things in place to make sure that one Pacific group, one Pacific group stay at the bottom. That's why America weaponized immigration since 1865. Do the research. America weaponized immigration way before 1865, but definitely when the Negro ancestors were emancipated, and we got all the proof. We got all the proof all the way from 1865 up to the current date. But you immigrants would get on a public app and cry over the word delineation. And cry and cry and cry and cry about this and cry about folks being anti-black and we got the same enemy and why you folks so lazy? Why you not educated? Why you not educated? Y'all sound so pitiful. I was educated before I walked through any classroom door. My mother sat me and my brothers and sisters down at the kitchen table or wherever we could sit on the floor, and we knew how to write our ABCs. We knew how to say our ABCs. We knew how to read. We learned about our own history before we ever walked through a classroom door. And honest with you folks, I didn't get my education from school. I got my education from my mother. I went to school just like everyone else. I went to kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and I had to pass each one of those grades. But I got my education from my mother. It's just a fact. That's why I'm so grounded. If my education would have been dependent on public school, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. My daughter, I did the same. I followed the same example that my mother instilled in me. I raised my daughter that same way. My daughter started the kindergarten a year and a half ahead of her peers. I was stationed in Berlin, Germany. She had to take a test. I mean, they gave her a test before she started kindergarten. And when they came back out, they said, "Do you know your daughter scored a grade a year and a half ahead of her peers?" So she was getting ready to start kindergarten, and they had to do a test. They said, "Well, she graded so high, she's already a year and a half ahead of her peers." So by the time my daughter got to junior high school, she was already taking advanced. By the time she got to the 10th grade, they told her she could skip straight from the 10th grade straight to college. So y'all are confused. You are some confused human beings. You swallow that Kool-Aid that America fed you. Negroes and Black Americans, they pride themselves on education and learning. That's one thing that no one can take away from us. Our ancestors had to sneak around to learn to read and write. Ain't nothing is a higher, more priority than learning. y'all keep on believing this lying narrative that America's feeding you. and you'll be setting yourself up for a disappointment. I'm a walking, living testimony. I'm a walking, living testimony, and all my brothers and sisters made straight A's, except for me and my next to the older brother. All my sisters and brothers brought home straight A's. My baby brother went to Morehouse College. I don't know. I can't remember what college my sister went to. Not one. They all brought home their report cards and they had nothing but straight A's on it. I barely made a C or D. I barely could make a C or D, me and my other brother. But my other 5 siblings, they all made straight A's. My mother skipped a grade in school. My mother, I didn't get that. God didn't give me that book knowledge. He gave me common sense. But you folks, y'all are pitiful. You immigrants who get on these audio apps and try to put Negroes and Black Americans down. That you really fell for that line that America fed you. That we are dumb and we are uneducated and we're lazy. That was a bad mistake to fall for that. that was a bad mistake to fall for that, because my whole family, I started being an entrepreneur at 9 years old. We got it from our mother. So that's in the bloodline. Entrepreneur, builders, and doers, that's just in the DNA. And nothing, that's just a natural thing. But America has done a good job of making sure the public schools are set up to harm our community. And we're working on fixing that. The Negro and Black American community are working on fixing that. Because there's schools being built behind the scenes. There's a lot of folks starting to teach their children from home. See, my daughter got lucky. She started school in Germany. I started her on Hooked on Phonics. So by the time she started school, she was just making good grades. But I had to check her homework. But thankful to my mother's example, I tried to follow that same example. And I spent time making sure that my daughter understood the importance of her education. So I passed that same thing on to my daughter. So America and you immigrants, you swallow that Kool-Aid and now you're looking like a fool. Now you're looking like a fool. That's your own fault. No one told you to believe it. I didn't believe the images that America tried to show me about Africa. I didn't believe not one of them. Not one. I seen all the negative pictures that America propaganda. I didn't believe not one of it. But you chose to believe it. It's one thing to say that you watch TV in Africa, but when you came to America, you could have done your own research and you didn't have to keep believing the negative propaganda that America was feeding you. You chose to believe it. I chose not to believe it. I'm right in America and I chose not to believe it. But you came to America and wanted to believe the negative propaganda that America was painting about Negroes and Black Americans. Whose fault is that? It's not. You can't blame it on no one but yourself. We can all of us can be fed misinformation, but each one of us have the responsibility to find out the truth. If we choose not to do it, you can't make excuses. You can't make excuses. So you folks, you immigrants have run out of time. You have run out of time. Now, each one of us understand that we're all facing a crisis. But the Negroes and the Black Americans needed help 10 years ago. The Negroes and the Black Americans needed help 20 years ago. The Negroes and the Black Americans needed help 30 years ago, and it fell on deaf ears. So it's too late now when it's hot in the kitchen that you want to cry for unity. It wasn't a priority 10 years ago. It wasn't a priority 20 years ago. So don't cry now. Don't cry now, because it's fake. Some persons are going to believe you. Some you're gonna play for a fool, and they're gonna fall for it. But America owes a debt to the Negro ancestors. Not one of you have made any effort to help with that fight. Instead, you have done everything in your power to wake up and talk negative. That's none of your business. That's our business. That's the Negroes, the Black Americans, even the African Americans, freedmen, ADOS, and LPA. That's our business. That's none of your business. Why do you have to speak on it? And, before I forget, the Hard Black Truth and Ronald claims to be from the bloodline. Your paperwork needs to be verified. Because see, I happen to know that I heard the Hard Black Truth and Ronald well over a year, and they never said that out of their mouth until recently. See, that's why I'm questioning it, because I remember being around each one of them when we were having all these back and forth wars, when the Negroes and the Black Americans and the African Americans and the freedmen and the ADOS and the FBA were going at each other. I remember each one of them being in the different spaces, and they never came on the microphone and said that until now. Why? Why all of a sudden they trying to paint that narrative? Because I clearly remember being around each one of them, and it never came out of their mouth. I would have remembered it. So I want to see some paperwork. If your paperwork do not trace back to Negro ancestors, then we are not from the same bloodline. I don't know what bloodline you from. The Hard Black Truth and Trinity and Ronald, if you cannot show proof that your family tree traced back to a Negro ancestor, we are not from the same bloodline. That's okay. That's okay. I am not going to have any less respect for each one of you. But I detest liars. I downright detest liars. I really do. So all of a sudden, folks are popping up out of the blue in these audio rooms and claiming that they are from descendants of Negro ancestors. All of a sudden, folks are coming out of the woodwork claiming they are descendants of slaves. Look at that. All of a sudden, folks are descendants of slaves. downright bald-faced lying. Just downright bald-faced lying. I don't know why folks think they can get away with it. If you got the paperwork, then it's all right. If you don't have the paperwork, why bother try to lie? It's downright pitiful. Downright pitiful. Downright pitiful. These ungrateful human beings, these selfish, jealous human beings, they got the Negroes and Black Americans cannot claim anything all they own. They cannot claim their hairstyle. They cannot claim how they walk. They cannot claim how they talk. They cannot claim how they dress. They cannot claim their music. They cannot claim their food. They cannot claim anything all they own without an immigrant trying to claim some of it, that they part of it. That's when you know. That's when you got proof that you are dealing with a selfish human being. That is when a person show you who they are. That is when you are getting verified proof in real time. When a person try to claim everything that belongs to you, your hairstyle, how you walk, how you talk, how you dress, how you dance, how you make music, how you cook. You know what, folks? Folks gonna tell on themselves no matter how hard they try to hide it. That's why I personally won't trust you. I can't speak for anyone else,